Hello, and welcome back to the Turtle Hour podcast. I'm Joel,
I'm Goose.
and today we finally have our first guest on the show.
Hello, y'all. I'm Junior. Goose. Oh, that hurt so much. Goose's brother.
I'm
He's
Guzman.
not-
Did he say I'm Guzman?
No, he said Goose's brother. He
Oh.
says it hurts him to refer to you as that.
Yeah, but you beat me to it. You referred yourself as Goose, so I'm like, I guess I'm not Goose today.
I took
Yeah.
over.
Well, who the hell are you, Junior? And what are you doing here?
Why are you in my basement?
I was invited, first of all. I am a guest.
True.
I am Goose's brother, and yeah, I was invited here to talk about stuff and things.
Stuff and things indeed.
Where are you visiting from?
I am
Why are you so far away from this?
I'm visiting from the Mile High State
Mile
up in
High.
Colorado, Denver, Colorado.
How's
Nice.
that compared to Chicago?
Couple thousand feet up, further up than it is here.
I guess just to be short about it, what really made you move to Colorado? I feel like I kind of have a notion of what it was, but like honestly, like what was the main like things that made you go over there?
Well, needed to change the scenery. Obviously, just a lot of things going on in my life at that time that, you know, you could look at it as either just looking for a fresh start or running away from your problems. But I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Not really a city person, so I'm like, let's go to Colorado. Let's go to the mountains.
I used to believe in like the running away from your problems thing, but you know, after you grow up and you kind of, I guess you could say, do the same thing, it's kind of just like you're not running away from your problems. You're just, like you said, you're starting something new from what you've learned recently. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm done with these problems. I need to create new ones.
Yeah. That's what's up. That's exactly the point of creating a new life, is to fuck it up further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Get creative.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't learn my lesson last time.
Now for the really important question. How's Aggie?
How is it?
Aggie. Oh, poor Aggie. She is fantastic.
First of all, who is Aggie?
Aggie is my best friend. She is my pet German Shepherd.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
she's a derp, man.
Can you
She's a
can you even
derp.
call her a pet at this point? She's like your lady.
Oh,
She's honestly like
that's
your-
my girl.
That's
Yeah.
your girl. My girl.
My girl. What you talking about? My girl. Copyrighted.
That was-
Nice.
Are we gonna get copyrighted? 'Cause of
No,
that shit?
no, we're
Oh,
not.
thank God.
Of course not.
That was almost in tune, guys. I'm pretty sure you could edit that somehow and make it all sound actually good, right?
I'm just going to fuck with the frequency so hard.
Auto-tune it.
But Aggie was a huge help to you. She must have been such a huge help to you, especially moving to. I moved 4 hours away. You moved a whole fucking day away.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't know anybody over there. So I imagine like I know how hard it was. Even it was just 5 hours away. How was it adjusting? How long did it really take you to like be comfortable there?
It took a while. It was definitely a drastic change. I mean, especially, coming from a family of six, in a little house, we grew up, there's six of us. There's always someone around.
Bunking and shit.
Yeah, and if I'm not at home, I'm usually at work, or usually going from like being surrounded from people with around people 24/7 to just going out there by myself. It was a drastic change, but it was something definitely that was necessary. I
Mhm.
mean, that's when you really get to spend time with yourself and figure some stuff out, and you get used to that appreciation of the time with you.
Mhm. Right.
For sure. Yeah, I imagine at first it was very freeing. And then at a certain point, like I know Eric even went through. Sorry, Goose even went through. through a
Chop your
situ-
nuts off, boy.
Well, he went through this point where he was just like, damn, I really am alone over here 5 hours away from like what I used to know as civilization.
Mm-hmm.
When did you think that sort of nipped you in the butt there, that sort of loneliness feeling there?
Well, honestly, for me, that experience that, you guys are referencing, for me, it wasn't so much that it hit me as loneliness. It was freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It was, because the first few days were weird. I got there and it was rainy and like dreary outside, so you couldn't even really see the mountains.
Hmm.
And I just remember thinking, like, the first couple of days, I'm like, did I mess up? Like, where am I? This just seems like a darker, like dimmer Chicago at this point, like, or a suburb of Chicago, because I was in Fort Collins at first.
Mm.
And it was a couple of days in, I decided to, throw Aggie in the car and drive up to the mountains, into the mountains. And then, that's when you really see everything. And that's when you really feel not alone, but like maybe to what you guys are speaking to as far as like alone, just away from everything. And then that's when it hit me. I'm like, I made the right move.
Oh, okay.
I'm where I'm supposed to be at.
Some good distance there.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, was there ever a point where you wanted to come back?
No, not a.
No regrets,
Nope.
bro.
I mean, that's
Never.
good though.
That
I
is
mean, I guess coming from someone who's in your family, I think I would much rather it be what you're saying now than like, yeah, there was a definite point where like I just didn't want to be there anymore, So that's really good.
I think I set myself up to not really look at it that way either, because I had my plan B, C, D wasn't, okay, if I fail, I'm going back to Chicago. My plan was like, where's the next place I'm going to? Like, I already had 2 other places lined up where I'm like, okay, if I hate it here, if I don't like it here, if I fail, then I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to fail there. And I'm just going to keep failing. I'm not like, I never once really thought like I'm going to fail back to Chicago.
No, but it's like what you told me.
You fail forward.
You get failed out of your vocabulary, like you told me once,
Yeah.
Yeah. There's different definitions depending on the situation. And I think it takes a lot of guts to just sort of, take an attempt at life, just at life. And this like perception that we have of it, a lot of people perceive life as, you get a good paying job and you put down some roots. No, I mean, I think life is making mistakes, learning from them. And then when you're good and ready, that's when you find something that isn't just depending on a job or a location, right?
No, I absolutely agree with that 100%.
That's where you start living your life,
Yeah, and I think we've said that a couple of times here, or at least I know I have, is just the idea of a simple life is, I wouldn't say it's even that it's simple. It's just that, like, I don't, you see people that, like, want to be millionaires and, want to, live this American dream where they fill their life with, like, so many materialistic shit. They forget, I guess the real beauty of life, which is enjoying the people around you and creating a family. And, as much as we don't go to church anymore, I kind of did like what the pastor said, to my parents. It's just like, look at what your love created.
Mm-hmm. I think, speaking to that, I think for me, what I learned at a really young age, and it was hard, especially, because parents are always pushing you, be a doctor, be a lawyer, money, 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 money. But what they never realized is that they were actually the big reason that I was thinking away from all that, because, growing up, we were definitely not like the richest people around.
Definitely
I think
not.
that's one of our biggest things. Like we were dirt poor, like 6 of us in a studio and 1-bedroom apartment, just making our way up.
I'll tell you right now, I never felt it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's the thing is, like, you listen to all these other people that grew up in houses, people that grew up with getting gifts and going on vacations and all this. And I think back and, like, yeah, we had our struggles and you go through stuff, but I'm like, the one thing I remember feeling was love. And I mean,
Right.
that I was good with that.
Yeah.
So, like, you grow up and you're like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? For me, it wasn't like, yeah, I'm going to go make money because that's what's going to make me happy. Like no, like
Yeah.
I never had that, and I never felt like I really needed it.
Do you feel? Sorry, I don't.
No, go ahead.
Do you feel like maybe, of course, everything has its flaws, right? Do you think the flaw of our parents showing us that love, it was enough for us, was a very in today's, I guess you could say, views of marriage and all that stuff kind of fucked us over?
I don't fucked us up over in what way?
Well, I mean, I guess you can kind of say, like, at least from what I've seen a lot, is like, people just don't want to get married anymore. People just don't believe in love anymore. They don't believe in kind of like this, like basically what you said, just like the,
I don't think it necessarily fucked us over. It just kind of set up an expectation, not necessarily in a negative way. So, like, I'll look at the other coin. When you look at, I don't know if it's a harsh example, but when you look at people that grew up like in the domestic violence stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they grow up and they fall right into it because that's what they're used to. They're used to seeing their parents fight. So then they get into these relationships where they think it's okay to be beat or okay to beat someone else. And then they learn from that. And I think, I think we were just fortunate that we saw that. We saw the love and everything, and we're like, as far as like what you're saying about the relationship, marriage and everything. And that's what we expected. That's what we were like, yeah, like we're going to get this, but that doesn't mean that's what we needed or what we wanted, because I know today, right now, that's not necessarily, I'm okay with not having that at my age.
Right. And you feel now like as you've grown, I guess maybe I'll get there at some point in my life where you're at, where it's just like yourself is enough.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It really is. Just not a lot of people get to experience a moment where they can appreciate themselves, and both of you kind of have, in your own ways. I mean,
you definitely try.
Well,
yeah.
I'll say this. I mean, you'll experience it more than once. I know I have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just because you get there once doesn't mean like you're gonna stay in that place.
Yeah,
You go
and
back
I think
and forth.
that's something that's hard to accept in like our generation or our younger generation. I know, even talking to your sister, like she's just dead set on like these ideas of school, right? And then we told her, I'm like, dude, things can change like at any moment. And she's talking about like really good paying stuff, like how we were just talking about. And I'm like, that's not what's gonna get you happiness, right?
It's not a sustainable happiness.
It's because one day you'll want to aspire to more, right? And at some point, the position that you're in will either limit you or maybe it won't satisfy you even when you do get that position. Find something that's really truly meaningful to you. And I don't know, it was kind of like a hard concept for her to grasp. Like she was like denying it when we were talking to her about it. And I'm like, no, we're being pretty serious about this.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know in like my time when I went to UIC for a bit, there were people there who was like, dude, I changed my major like junior year. And I was like, that's just an example. That's just an example of like, life can change at any moment. And you've literally experienced that, you're like, boom, let's go to Colorado. And if Colorado doesn't work, let's go here or here.
Right.
And that's a mentality that I think will drive a lot of people to like what they actually will find, like a position where they will find happiness is what I mean.
I mean, you look at people, I guess us as humans before we had, built cities and all that stuff. How did people live their lives? They lived by exploring, by going out there and trial and error. That's how people lived. And I feel like we've moved from trial and error to, do it a certain way and
follow the trail of other people's successes when they're setting you up to these experiences that required either tremendous amounts of luck or a tremendous amount of money in the first place,
or they simply don't emphasize the failures.
Yeah, exactly.
All you're focusing on is like, oh, look at that path they took that looked perfect. Like,
but
it wasn't that easy. Like as easy as it may have sounded on the documentary or on their Instagram like feed.
Yeah,
like it wasn't that easy.
It
like
wasn't.
Everyone had their own struggle getting to where they're at.
Yeah,
and
that's for sure.
Everyone has their point of what you can and can't take. We sometimes talk about, mostly playfully, talking about opening up a restaurant and stuff like that. But like, I feel like if we did, like, I feel like it'd be pretty bomb ass food. But in terms of the business part of it, I definitely do feel like it would tear our family apart.
How so?
Money does crazy things to people, man. It's like the desolation of smog. It's that gold just, it does something to people.
Well, that's a dragon. That's
okay,
what he's
yeah,
meant
but
to
like,
do.
but it's
what are you
like
trying to say about mom?
But like the
I think Biggie put it the best way. He says, "Blood and money don't mix like two dicks and no bitch. Find yourself in serious shit." That's
Junior's face
Junior's
right
like,
now.
interesting.
I need to listen to Biggie now.
So I
Let
mean,
me just write that down.
Notorious Big, he said it. He said, "Blood and money don't mix," because that's the thing. You have, family values where you love each other and you can accept each other for their faults. But in business, if somebody's making mistakes, they gotta go.
Right.
Because you're dealing with money, you're dealing with the franchise, you're dealing with a reputation there, and I don't think family is meant to operate in that way, because then there's expectations that can't be met in a healthy way when you have that kind of connection with somebody.
Well, that's why you hear about all these like super successful CEOs and business makers that like have been divorced several times, or don't talk to their families.
Be gone.
Yeah, they're like, no, well, you kind of get away from all that.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
And I mean, if that makes them the thing is, like, for me is like, I was just like, how can someone like that be happy, right? But then I realized it's just like everyone's happiness and I guess you could say ideals are very different, and you can't force someone and tell them like, dude, what you did was a really shitty thing. And if in their mind, like, I did it for me, you can't be mad at that. We try and say like, love yourself and do things for yourself. And then at the same time, we're just like, well, he did a really shitty thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So sucks. But I mean, yeah, that's what made them happy.
Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact that like in terms of divorce, like as a topic, like that is very taboo in Latino families that go to church a lot, like heavily. Like I know for a fact that at the core of everything, my parents would do everything in their power to not get to that point, because they know how it'll affect us, In terms of, I don't know how they see it in terms of like a religion aspect, but yeah, I know my parents aren't exactly like, even if it does end up making you happy, it's like a hard thing, because divorce and marriage and church are so closely bound together.
I guess you worded it in terms of just like for you guys, right? Like you and your brother.
Yeah.
Does it change once you grew that seed? Once that you two, our parents, made us and, had us grow into the people that we are today, right? But once we're grown and we're our own people, does that ideal kind of change for them? Where now they're, I don't know, let's say 60 or 65. Is it too late to kind of be like, we just don't work like that anymore? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for them, right?
I'm not saying like your parents in general, but
no. But like after, like if that's what's really keeping them together is the fact that like they don't want to mess up the kids, like in terms of like any general family. I don't know. I've never experienced a family that's had to like. Well, that's not true. I've never been close to a family that's experienced like a divorce. I don't think in like my mind. But I mean, like, yeah,
you see it, and when it comes to those kind of, I mean, you hear it all the time as far as like, you stay together for the kids, and a lot of people do it, and it works out, and then the second last one turns 18, it's over kind of thing. But I think maybe what you're kind of speaking to, and as far as like the examples that I know I've heard of and seen is, you stay together for the kids, but then they see like what you were referencing earlier as far as like what you grow up with is kind of what you start expecting. You grow up seeing these two people who don't really care for each other, that are cold to each other, and that's the best case scenario, like if they just don't care for each other. But like then you see the worst ones where it's like they hate each other. Yeah. And you're around these two people that absolutely hate each other and are only there for you. Like that's not really helping you as a kid to develop mentally wise and growing up.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess kind of keeping on the topic of relationships and stuff like that. As someone who's been on both sides of, breaking up and with someone or at the end of a relationship, or, being on both sides of that coin, how has that, like, your view on love and relationships changed throughout each experience?
I mean, it's changed a lot. I mean, through my life, obviously, for a lot of people it changes. Sometimes it changes with each relationship. I mean, and then when you speak to that, it's not even just like your views on the relationship with other, with that other person, because what's changed along with it is like the relationship with myself. Because going into relationships, my biggest thing was like, I didn't love myself. I was super self-conscious, I didn't think much of myself, and that pretty much shaped one of the first big relationships I was in. It was not very good. It led to a lot of negativity, a lot of bad things, a lot of self-harming things that, you know, that I definitely learned from after it was finally over. And I think the bridge between that and into the next relationship was working on myself. And then once, you know, that was mended and that was pretty well, then that kind of shaped up the next relationship. And that's kind of what made it work, is that I cared for myself, and in that way then I can also care for someone else, instead of like having to worry about me or investing 100% of myself into that person, which is what I was doing before. You know, now I'm like, okay, well, I understand that I not only have to care for this other person because they're my significant other, but I have to worry about myself as well. And luckily I was with someone who felt the exact same way, and then, you know, that shapes that. And then just depending on how that goes, I mean, you know, for me, obviously it still didn't work out, but I mean, you still try to remain positive from that, you know. And of course, you know, after a breakup, you know, everyone goes through the whole like, oh, screw this, you know, I'm gonna be single for the rest of my life. But then when you finally get over your emotions and you settle down and you really think about it, you're like, okay, well, let me reflect. You know, what did I learn? What can I do better? What, not just like with me, but with someone else. Like, okay, this is what I really liked about the relationship. This is what I didn't like about the relationship. And it just develops. And hopefully, I mean, because the way that I look at it, I mean, I try to stay positive, because it's like, yeah, I've had several relationships, and you'd think, you know, when people want to dog on you, you're like, oh, you're 20 whatever and you're still not married or you haven't settled down or anything. But me, it's like, no, I haven't, but like every single time I go on to something new, it's better.
Right.
So as long as it's getting better, then what do you really have to complain about? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I guess a follow-up question to that is, do you feel like everyone should go through something like that at least once in their life? Like, not necessarily like exactly what you went through, but more so the whole being in a relationship and losing yourself into that, and then the end of it, which is, you know, the big explosion into you finding a new part of yourself, or learning something about life that maybe you wouldn't have learned if you wouldn't have been in that relationship.
Not necessarily. I mean, I learned what I did through that relationship. Other people learn it different ways. Other people learn it because, you know, just going back to what we were talking about, they see it in their parents. They see it in their best friends. They see it in their sister. They see it in all of that. They see all of that in them, and so they learn through their mistakes, and then they end up making different mistakes, kind of thing. So I don't know if I'd necessarily say everyone should go through it, because I mean, everyone goes through character development, and, you know, in different ways.
Here's another person thrown into your life for character development.
Yeah, God's just writing the script there, bro.
Right.
I was gonna ask, do you believe someone has to be in a certain place to have a relationship? So you said that you were in a place where you didn't have much self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Does somebody, in order to have a relationship that maybe will fruition into something that's a little more permanent, do you think they have to be sort of at peace with themselves and maybe not broken in their own way? I mean, I know every person is, realistically, but do they have to be at like a peak point in their lives in order to do that? Or do you think someone can come from being completely, you know, torn down and then go into a relationship like that? Or do you think it would make the other person in the relationship too heavily responsible for how you're feeling?
Well, there's always the exception to the rule. Obviously, I mean, you know, there's always the minority and the majority of people. Mm-hmm. It definitely doesn't hurt to have yourself figured out before you get into that long-term relationship. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's impossible necessarily, because I mean, if you're one of those lucky, and you know, you hear about it all the time. You hear that broken, absolutely broken person that's either got broken down because of something prior, or just, you know, they just never got built up. They find that other person that builds them up. You know, sometimes that's what it takes. You know, you hear those cases where it's like, it's that other person that helps them find that confidence, mm-hmm. that can take that burden. Like you're saying, like, obviously you don't want to really put that on someone else, because then that strains the relationship. Yeah. But some people are made for that. You know, you start getting a little, I don't know, spiritual religion. Some people kind of like put on earth to do stuff like that, you know? Yeah.
You definitely have to have a certain level of patience for that too.
Right. No, definitely. Yeah. Like I know yeah, I couldn't do it, but you know, there's definitely people out there that have.
Guilty.
I mean,
For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you know, what do you think is absolutely necessary then in a relationship in order for it to thrive?
So with that, also, unfortunately, due to experience, I'll say that a lot of people have different expectations as far as like what is necessary for them. I'll speak to like what I personally think, and a lot of people will probably disagree with it. I think it's independence. I think it's being able to, not just live codependently, but independently as well, like respecting each other's, being your own person.
Okay.
I know I was in a place with someone where like that was like our big thing is like it wasn't so much of like calling it like a relationship, is more of a partnership. Like you're your own person, I'm my own person. When we're together, we make each other better, but we also function independently.
So would you say at the core that it's really trust then? Trust has to be the main factor to keep two people together, especially like in terms of like that the metaphor you put it in is like it's a partnership.
Right. Yeah, trust is definitely one of the the biggest things, like cuz I know I didn't have it at all. I didn't trust other people at all, and then when I got to the point like and it was funny cuz she had told me, she's like one day like she'd mentioned, cuz I said thank you for earning my trust. I was like, it was somewhere along the lines like, hey, I don't know that I've ever really worried about you cheating on me, and I just wanted to thank you for that. And she was actually like, I feel sorry for you. Like, I'm so sorry that you think that that's something you have to earn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of like how it is nowadays. You know what I mean? Where you're like, oh, this is a nice place. Because I know I definitely got to that. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely got to a point where I'm like, I think I'm just going to accept the fact that I'm going to find my someone and they're probably going to cheat on me once or twice. And I'm just going to it's going to be a bump in the road kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I don't think, well, I won't speak for Joel, but I'll let you answer first.
If it were ever to go to that point, I think, in terms of my integrity, if I'm not enough for you, then I shouldn't be wasting your time.
And that's good that you love yourself that much, that you're at that point.
Yeah, but I think it would take that extreme to sort of wake me up to that realization. And I think, yeah, I would love myself to the point where I would be able to let go, but afterward it would probably suck.
Right. And see,
but that's with anything, right? Like any big issue in a relationship. But definitely, if you trusted somebody to that point and allowed yourself to be open like that, the wound may come, but you were ready for it in reality since you trusted them, I guess if you opened yourself up, you weren't ready for it, right? I mean, you believe this person wasn't going to, but somewhere in the back of your mind, there's always that doubt, you hate to admit it, especially with someone that you love and you want to say, yeah, you think of the best of them and that they would never cheat. But that, that little imp of the perverse always is there right next to you whispering in your ear, but you can't let that in.
The petty ghost.
The petty ghost.
Yeah, you've never heard of the petty ghost?
Well, the imp of the perverse is like the thing that wants you to see the worst in people and everything like that. But the petty ghost also works.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean,
you're not wrong though. It is a petty little ghost telling me,
yeah.
Oh, but she did that because of this,
Yeah, but I get. Yeah. It's crazy for me, it's crazy to see how like your thought in that, like that's been at some point a thought in your head, right? That has crossed your mind, right?
Whose thought?
Yours. On like, oh, eventually, like if I do end up with someone, eventually they're gonna.
He gestures to Junior.
Well, that also just kind of speaks like what I told you guys about like my self confidence, like where I was, Yeah. Where, like I obviously didn't care enough about myself, where I was just like, okay, like I guess I don't matter enough for someone to stay committed to me, kind of thing.
And I think for someone who has had the same thoughts, who has been there before, I guess it's a refreshing thing to be able to hear someone who understands like what that feeling is, to say that like that's not okay to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that eventually you will find someone that you won't have to worry about that. And that is a healthy relationship. Not this, you know, thinking of, you know, oh, you know, we're meant to have problems, so, you know,
I love
let's
that
get through them.
when you hear that, where you're like, things are too perfect. Like, I don't, you know, when you hear about those relationships where they're like, we haven't fought in months, something's wrong. Like,
Oh,
no,
God.
girl, like you're or
just,
dude, like
it's
you're
just
fine.
good.
Like, she hasn't yelled at me in forever. I think something's up. Like, no, like, dude, ride it. Like, you're doing good.
Yeah.
Like, you're fine.
It's hilarious because I was just watching The Walking Dead, and I remember why I hate Lori, the main character's wife, so damn much. It's like, I hated him. He was being so reasonable that it just made me even more angry. And I know that's not something okay to be mad about, but he was just so damn understanding. And I was just like, God, I hate you so much. Like, why are you looking for something to complain about just because? I guess maybe the idea of him being passive, right? Like him not taking action is something that she was upset about. But like,
Well, yeah, there's a difference between being passive and being reasonable.
yeah,
Like, okay, like you did something. Like, I'm not just gonna burst into like anger or like emotion. Like, yeah, I'm gonna show emotion for it, but like let's address it now.
Yeah,
Let's not do this whole passive aggressive thing. Not let me be like, what you did, what, stomp out, go to the bar, come back,
Exactly.
scream at you all night, and then like, you know, let it linger for a week, and then like, all right, let's talk about it. Like,
So-
you're like, no,
so toxic. People crave that actually. Like,
no,
and it's
My thing from my experience is you know, when you talk to someone, right, and you're talking to your partner and you realize that you're fighting a lot and you try to say like, hey, like, you know, this isn't okay. Like, yeah, I know we're meant to have our issues and this and that, but at the same time it's just like I think there's a miscommunication somewhere where you think that I'm purposely trying to hurt you, but that's not the case, you know, and I'm just trying to tell you how I feel. And it doesn't matter to those people because all they're hearing is the negative things that you're saying towards them, and all of a sudden you're telling someone that, you know, I didn't like that you did this, and I'm not mad at you. I'm just letting you know how I feel. And then they're like, you're making me feel like the worst person in the world, and this and that. You know, it's just like
you were dealing with the victimizer.
yeah,
They're just victimizing themselves.
Like-
And I think the phrase that you used was we're meant to have problems. I don't think it should be we're meant to have problems. It should be
it happens.
we're allowed to have
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people take it that way, that they're meant to have issues, right? and it shouldn't. But continue on your point. You were saying,
But like, yeah, like I mean, I've experienced like firsthand experience that where it's just like someone who just enjoys conflict, and you know, I don't think I realized that until after the whole relationship, where it's just like some of those things were literally just because like she was bored. You know, it's just like I was over here like honestly like really fucked up in my head, like, you know, thinking all these things, and like for her it was just a fucking game, you know. But no, yeah, I definitely agree that, like, you know, it happens, you know, you're allowed you know, to have problems and stuff like that. But my question around that more so is when do you just say too much is too much?
everyone's line is different.
yeah,
Mhm.
like you were saying earlier, like everything will break somebody at a different point, and we can't expect the path to be sort of linear and
Mhm.
cut out for every single person.
And some people's line changes with the experiences. Like some people can go through something and that line gets a lot thinner, gets a lot closer. Whereas some people, like they'll go through something and that line will either stay the same or it gets further away. You know, they end up like next time maybe they'll deal with even more stuff than they did before.
Mhm.
It just kind of depends on the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if it's just the same person again.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
okay. That only solidifies the lesson that you learn at that point, where even if you have bettered yourself
Mm-hmm.
and have accepted what you did wrong, if the other person can't do the same, then that's simply not going to work. And I think that goes back into the partnership idea. It's that you have to move in you have to be cohesive, really. You can't split apart in terms of a growth,
Mm-hmm.
because if you outgrow the other person, then, or if you even believe you outgrow the other person but you want to stay stagnant, then it's just you're killing the relationship.
Right. And then, you know, that person has a decision to make. Like, okay, do I either help this person grow with me? And then, you know, that person has another decision to make. Like, do I want to grow with this person or am I good where I'm at? And then you know, that's when you have to make those decisions of like, either I'm willing to be patient and wait till they want to grow, or I have the patience to build them up, or you know what, like I'm not gonna wait around for this stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's an issue with a lot of contemporary relationships kind of deals, because people will just kind of drop a relationship like it's nothing, you know? And I think that's crazy to think about just how people can how people can just throw away an entire relationship with somebody rather than work on the fact, and then they complain that there's nobody out there for them when they don't want to work on those kinds of situations.
Well, yeah, that's like the funny thing, you know, we're talking about lines, you know, where I think we're referring, like, what a Goose is bringing up is, you know, that line, how much am I willing to deal with? Well, some people's line is like so like close. It's like where like you're speaking to, where it's like, yeah, I'm not dealing with, it's like the smallest thing, like I'm not dealing with that, on to the next one. Where like that's kind of the other side of the extreme of like, where's your line at?
Yeah. But do you think at all, like, any type of like right now the internet is a big influence on that? Do you think that the internet has somehow taught, you know, kids nowadays that relationships are disposable? Like, I know rap is infamous for that.
Yeah.
Especially right now with like the mumble rap community and all them talking about, you know, they'll say, I'm fucking on your bitch, you know, like always talking about somebody else's girl.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to mine, and like this whole idea of like,
well, now girls are like that too.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'll steal your man, you
they're
know.
okay with being a side
it's
chick.
back and forth. Yeah.
They're okay with being the side chick, and nobody holds being, you know, that, you know, the main chick, quote unquote, right? To such a high standard anymore. It's just about, you know, I forget who sung it, but there was a good line in a song, and it's, our generation is taking the love out of sex, right? Because sex is now the drive. Sex is now the drive for relationships. And I don't know when we got to this point, but I'm sure music has a big, whatchamacallit, indent on that.
For me, like I say, you know, I agree with that saying, but at the same time, you know, when I really think about it, that's always been there for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like sometimes I do generalize a lot of my own thoughts and beliefs, you know, and I think that's one of them, where it's just like, I feel like that should apply to everyone, but in reality it doesn't, you know. Billions of people in the world, you really think all of them are going to think that sex should be, like, you know, sacred? Well, not sacred, but like should be love, not, you know. But no, because we're human beings and we're meant, like, it's human nature.
It's a base drive that we have, you know, like in our, you know, animalistic way, we all just want to, you know, procreate. But there is that level of like conscious that we have that separates us from being a fucking hamster, and you know,
a bunny.
Oh, just a bunny, and just humping everything in sight, you know.
Fucking like rabbits. I like to say.
Yeah, but at that point, that's all you are. You're just being an animal about it, and you're just doing it because you have that drive.
Well, it's also options.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? And I mean, I'll speak to it. I know, like, in my experiences in the past, like when you're on those apps, like, it's hard, because I remember, you know, growing up with, like, if you're going through school and then just hearing like other people before all these apps, it's like, oh, there's like Sally, like I'm focused on Sally, like, oh, Sally's cute and all, you know, I've known Sally. And now it's like, yeah, Sally's cool and all, but now there's Amy, and now there's Sarah, and now there's like all these, you have so many options. So now, like, I know, I mean, I'm not going to generalize it, but I know, like, me personally, like, there'll be like one girl that you're like kind of talking to and you'll be connected with. And then there's another girl that you're like, oh, well, she likes, like, you'll find just something to like connect on with, like, oh, she said something about Pokemon, like, oh, no, this is the girl kind of thing. And it's just like the options. It's just, I think the whole option aspect, you know, not just with the apps, but everything, like, you know, the DMs. I know people meet each other. Like, you watch Catfish, there's people in Atlanta meeting people in California, you know, just through all these people. And it's just like, there's so many people communicating where like that monogamy just kind of gets more difficult.
Well, yeah, that's when you're not essentially, those apps are definitely another, attributed to hookup culture
Yeah.
for sure. But I'm talking about when someone is with another person, but then they have this whole like, side chick idea mentality. It's like not even looking for that commitment. Hookup culture is a little different because you're definitely not looking for commitment, and one night stands are a whole other ballpark, right? Because you are going there for the sex, and maybe for that experience with a person that you wouldn't usually hook up with in the first place. And so
it's a mutual thing.
Well, it is definitely a mutual thing, but like when you can't control yourself to the point where you can say, I hold this person more dear than than this other person that I'm hooking up with on the side. Like, if you're falling more in love with the side chick, let the other girl like go. Dude.
Right.
You're wasting her time. You're stringing her along. And there's this whole like toxic ass relationship aspect. Like, I know infamous ass rapper Eminem always talks about that shit, where he's with a girl, but he thinks he's in love with his side chick, and then they don't want to leave each other. They don't know who they're cheating on, really.
Uh-huh.
And like that whole aspect of his love life, right? And so it's not being able to have the integrity to let one person go to get to the other person, right?
Yeah.
Because you're afraid, if this doesn't work out, then then I can just fall back.
You got my
other
fallback, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Safety
terrible. It's fucking terrible. A safety net for your sex? Like, what the hell is that? It's like the worst thing ever. But I'm just gonna get called a little bitch or something on the internet.
If there, I'm not saying there's a problem with dating right now, but if there was, right, is someone who has been in it for a while longer than what I've been in it, right? I'm not counting Joel because Joel's been in a relationship for
6 years now.
6 years.
Good for you. Can I do a little clap on here?
You can do a little.
It's
Sounds
a
like
little
you're
golf clap.
clapping my cheeks, bro.
And we're editing that out.
Nah, it's cool.
I never edit the ones I say I'm gonna edit.
Right?
It's always something else.
But I mean, I guess if there's something that you would tell people my age, right? Is someone who is finally starting to find myself and really learn, like you said, to love yourself, and who's been through shitty ass relationships and who's kind of lost that hope. What would you tell someone? What would you tell those people?
I would give them a pamphlet to becoming, a father of the church. There's always
the
Fuck you.
what
There's
you call
always
it, Church of Scientology.
There's always abstinence.
Or
there is always God.
There's always God.
What was
Jesus will always love you.
what was the church from the boys? That cult.
It's based off of the Church of Scientology, but it's I forget.
Do you remember?
No,
The
I
one
don't.
that the
The collective.
I know what
collective.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
The collective.
But like, what do you mean? Like, what would I tell them? Like, in regards to giving them hope, or like in regards to like it gets, but like, do you want me like?
Like
do
just
you
the
mean?
real shit, like just. I guess
You had one like gem in this like relationship category that you could just show to these kids and just be like, this is how you get this, like how, like what's one mistake that you don't want them to make, and then just be like, or one tip that you definitely are just like.
And the
got this.
reason I ask this to you, right, is someone, me personally, I wouldn't ask that question to Joel because he's someone that found something like that
Mm-hmm.
just quickly, like not trying to like that, like dish on you or anything like that,
No,
but
man.
like you're someone who's been through shit, the good and the bad, who's been on the both sides of situations, like what is like something you wish you knew before you went through all of that shit?
I mean, it's gonna sound cliche, but be patient and enjoy the ride. Because here's the thing: is like you're saying, you just said it yourself. Like as someone who is finding themselves, like, dude, I'm still finding myself to this day. And like, you got to look at the other side of the coin. Not only are you finding yourself, so are all these girls that you're talking to, or so is like all these people that are also looking for other people. Like everyone's just finding themselves. Be patient and enjoy the ride. Like enjoy the connections that you make along the way, like the relationships that you have but might not, but don't make it, and I think that's what I've definitely done is like, yeah, a lot of my latest relationships haven't necessarily made it, but there's still like connections I have. There's still people I talk to. There's still friendships that you develop.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So be picky is another one. You know, it's okay to be picky. I mean, you know, there's an extreme, you know, what I mentioned before is an extreme of like, oh, well, shiny object kind of thing. Like, this is like, no, don't take it to that extent, but know what you're willing to take and what you're not willing to take, you know, like what you're willing to deal with.
Yeah. You should always have a line that maybe shouldn't be crossed in terms of a person, and not just judging them like right off the bat,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you know that, like, as soon as you see this person, that's how they're gonna act, at least for the first like couple of months of your relationship, and you know you probably can't take that, and that it'll do some kind of harm to your own, you know, self-interest, then definitely, yeah, don't be afraid to be picky. Even if you feel like relationships are once in a blue moon for you, right? Don't self-sacrifice just to be in a relationship, because then again you put yourself in the position that you have this person lift you up, you know, and as soon as they stop deciding to carry you anymore, you get flat on your face and you have to pick yourself
and then
up
you
again.
get better.
Right.
You get better because then you're like, oh, I was willing to deal with all this stuff, and then what's going to happen is that they're going to rightfully so find the one thing that they don't want to deal with you with, and they're going to leave you, and then you're going to be all bitter, like, well, I dealt with all this, and they're like, well, I didn't tell you to.
Right. And
Like, and the one,
I've been
my
in
deal
that
breaker, didn't come out in you till 6 months into the relationship. So
Yeah.
I am taking the initiative of breaking up with you, and you can't fault me because you decided to ignore all your deal breakers that have happened in the past 6 months, you know?
Right.
So like, yeah. And, you know, be reasonable, obviously be reasonable, but like, I mean, some people's line is different than someone else's. I mean, this is gonna sound stupid, but for some people, it's like they gotta like deep dish pizza, like, or like, you know, they're passionate about food. Like okay, let's generalize that. Like for them, it's food, and if there's, you know, you're someone that likes to eat all this stuff, and then there's this person that's like, plants, like,
it's like
Plants.
the
you're-
Little Dicky song.
right. You're over here with like this like meat podcast, and you're like all about it and stuff, and then you meet this girl that's just like plants, like
gosh.
that might not work out, but
Right.
I know. I mean, I had a really stupid one that, because I got really extreme with it when I kind of like went through my phase of like, okay, I'm gonna start being picky, and this is gonna sound bad, but like for me, one of them was like their dog. They had a little dog, and the person wasn't bad. Like we had fun and they were cool, but like I think I was just going through my personal stuff where I think they were at the point where they were looking for something, and I think I was realizing that I wasn't. So I'm trying to find an out. I'm like, fuck your dog. Like, I don't want to do this. Like,
I don't like little dogs either, man. If I would
like
be
that's
honest.
not fair. Like, obviously, like that's not right. But like, you get what I'm
Like,
saying.
honestly, I just don't like your dog, so I can't be with you.
Literally can't.
Bro, I hated that dog.
I imagine.
I hated that dog.
I can't stand little dogs. They got
See,
too much energy.
That's exactly what it is. And like obviously in general, I think if I found like the person that I thought was like the person, and like the one thing was like the dog, I wouldn't be like deuces.
Yeah,
But
right.
at that time in my life, I was just like, this isn't what I'm looking for. So I just attached myself to that one fact, like, fuck your dog.
Your dog ate shit.
What,
And
what
he would
is-
eat that shit real quick.
What is the most unrealistic view of relationships and stuff like that is generalized in the media, in movies and stuff like that you wish they would stop fucking saying? It's like,
But give me an example. Like, what do you mean? I don't have a college degree, so you're gonna have to dumb things down for me.
When
Yet.
two people love each other
well,
very much.
well, I guess like
No,
the
okay.
recent one that like the trend has stopped is like the whole idea of the man being the savior, right? With like princesses and stuff like that. Like people call out and was just like, why, like that's like, I wouldn't say that, oh, it's not okay, but more so it's just like, why are they saying like the man has to save the woman, basically, right?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not saying like I'm okay.
Oh, I had a good one today at work, actually,
Let's hear it.
where my coworker, female, was dealing with a client male. And what happened was this dude was like, he knows that her and her mother make tamales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, oh, are you guys making tamales and stuff, you know? And she goes, yeah, I'm gonna help my mom make them. And she's like, oh, well, you don't know how to make them? That's what he says it, right?
Ooh.
She's like, no, I just help my mom. And he's like, oh, but you're a woman, you're supposed to know how to make them. That's what he said.
Ooh.
And he's like, oh, well, and then she goes, oh, do you know how to make them? And he goes, no, that's what happened. He's like, oh, do you know how to make them? And he's like, oh, no, that's the woman's job. And she goes, oh, so men don't know how to cook now. And the guy was like just quiet and walked out.
Did he know he messed up?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, this guy's always a pain in the ass, though. If I'm going to be honest, whenever he comes in, he is definitely a pain in the butt. But you gotta customer service. You gotta deal with that stuff all the time. Doesn't matter.
Honest.
Some people have their good days. Some people have their bad days where beliefs that they shouldn't believe come out.
Yeah.
But like something like that, where like for a long time, well, at least it still is a thing in other cultures, right? That like, oh, the woman's supposed to be certain thing and stuff like that.
Mexico,
right?
man. Mexico, for sure.
But something that's I guess more in the U.S., I guess you could say, because that is the geographic of where we live.
The men are the breadwinner, like that idea, like in terms of USA, like that's a stereotype in relationships where the guy's winning the money or whatever.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
So like something like that. After all those examples,
you're like, I don't know how many examples.
Hey
like,
man, sometimes I have a good question, but like I can't think of like certain examples.
No, yeah,
to
you're
explain
fine.
to it, but
No, I'm not like trying to blame you or anything. A generalization that people should look past. There's just for some, and that just kind of goes against like what I've been saying about like, what, if it's something for you, then hold to it. Like a generalization, like I don't know, like the fairy tale, like start, like they're not super romantic. Like, yeah, that's not a big deal if you don't want to deal with like. If you don't want to be romantic, don't be romantic. But with the girl, like if that's what you want, then find yourself someone that's gonna do that.
yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, like that guy that didn't buy you roses the first 2 years isn't gonna start buying you roses the 2 years after that. Like that's not gonna change, kind of thing. So
right.
I'll kind of spin off of it and kind of go against your question though, as far as like something I personally do believe that maybe a guy should be doing. And call me old school, but I've also like heard a lot of girls complaining about this recently. Is that guys don't pay like for the first date anymore? And
what?
All right, so someone that okay, maybe you don't have that much experience like with dating, and then you've been in a relationship for the longest time,
and
so you guys don't really know what's going on out there. But yeah, like a lot of like these girls are just like amazed, like and it sucked, and I am so sorry for all the women out there that expectations are so low right now. Because there's no way that I should be blowing you away in the first date just because I paid for the tacos.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I think, I don't know. Like I said, call me old school, but that's something that we should be doing. Obviously, you're going to have like the girls that are like, no, like I insist.
I'm independent.
Unless,
so listen. So I love to spoil, and like I just love to do it. But lately, she's like, let me pay this time. And I'm like, you know what? Go right ahead. And she's like, yes. Right? And I'm finding that in my relationship. But in the beginning, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I would put my money down, man. Like I definitely wanted to do that because I knew that's the gentleman thing to do, you know? And now I'm even more adamant about driving her home if she's going late. Like she's like, oh, I'll just drive myself. And I'm like, no. And she's like, why? And I'm just like, it's not because you're terrible at braking, but it's because if something happens, I want to be there when it does, okay?
Right.
And that's just the end of story there. And so it's like stuff like that where I'm not trying to diminish your ability on anything, your ability to pay, your ability to, drive, right? Just for that example. I just want to let you enjoy yourself more. And I'm okay putting myself at that expense, whether it be, like with driving to live, like the enjoyment of living the next day. If something does happen, not saying it's going to if you drive alone, just rather be there. And the ability to spend your own money however the hell you want. Let me pay for dinner. Yeah. And if you want to split it next time, I'm not going to complain. But that's like 6 years into a relationship. Yeah. Right? First couple years, man, you're going to want to impress. All right.
Yeah, and like I said, like for me, it was like that first, at least the bare minimum should be that first day. But like I know it was hard for me. So when I was the last relationship I was in, she was definitely, you know, like she was an independent woman and everything, and you know that's something that mattered to her is remaining like that. So like there would be several times like into a relationship that she'd be like, I got this, I'm gonna get this, and it was so hard for me to just get it like, yeah, that's okay kind of thing. But it also feels nice getting spoiled. I mean, it sounds like that's something that you're starting to let it happen, and it is weird. It's just kind of like that. I don't know if it's like the Hispanic culture kind of thing that you're just like, that's not okay.
I think it is,
but
at least that's how I was.
But
taught.
Man, it felt nice when you finally like cool, and she's, you know, like you let her buy you dinner, and you're like, oh, that was nice. Nice.
Must be nice.
Hey, I buy you dinner a couple times, bitch.
to be honest,
man, I brought. Did I tell you? I brought.
Dude, we gotta take him to Shaku.
Oh,
a what?
It's a sushi.
You like
place.
sushi?
Yeah, I'm a sushi fan.
Oh,
all right, but you know, so keep doing what you were saying.
But yeah, I brought him $99 worth of pizza to Michigan in a cooler.
Yeah, dude, this is what I'm telling you, man. Joel's like,
did he put out?
Huh?
Did he put out?
Yeah, he made a bomb ass breakfast for us all.
I did make a bomb ass breakfast.
That was a bomb ass breakfast. Hell yeah, we were eating like kings over there, and had like 90.
Bro, my apartment was the spot, bro.
It was, bro.
Your apartment 500 miles away.
Dude, the Detroit style pizza caught me off guard.
Dude, it was good, man. Right? The barbecue, not barbecue, the buffalo chicken pizza.
Buffalo chicken pizza.
Oh, bro, dude, there's one here, man. We gotta go.
I don't know. It's not the same.
You're like, no,
listen.
I said it caught me off guard, but if deep dish is like an option, I'm picking deep dish.
Even pan.
I'm not mad at that actually, but yeah.
But yeah, I kick in, bitch.
I know. But it's different though. It's different.
No, I know. Yeah. I know. But yeah, I'm glad we see eye to eye there, Junior.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, to have her go in and say, "I want to pay," right?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's fine. If the guy wants to let that happen, you have more self confidence than I did at first.
Right. No, and I completely agree with that.
If you walk in there and you're just like,
no, they expect like
50-50, right? Like if you just walk in there and you're just like, so 50-50, right? And this girl's like,
Well, here's the other thing. Like,
guard.
I get it if like the girl goes out of her way and she's like, all right, let me take you out to dinner kind of thing, and then like maybe like you get the misconception, but still, like if you're the person that's like, hey girl, let me take you out to dinner,
yeah, and then
you take her to like some steak place, and then you're like, oh,
50-50.
yeah, can you split the check, please?
Oh, yikes!
And she's looking at you like I got
scum.
potatoes, you got the surf and turf. Like, what do you mean we all split it 50-50?
Yeah, for real.
I think in my experience, I've only ever let like the people that I've dated pay for something like once or twice.
No, like I'm all about the empowerment movement. I'm just talking about that first date, dude. Especially if you're the one that's in, like, it's totally fine. Like if she's the one that insists, like, yeah, 50-50, cool, like let it happen, be a gentleman. But at least take that initiative, like, hey, I invited you. Mm-hmm. Let me pay for dinner. Let me pay for the date. Let me do this.
Exactly.
It's like you show up for reservations at axe throwing, and you're gonna be like, I paid for mine. I think you still got to go pay for you. Like, what?
Imagine.
It's wild, dude. Like, I mean, it works for me, but some of these guys are setting that bar real low. So get out there, Eric. Expectations are super low right now. All-time low, just like interest rates.
All-time low.
Honestly, it doesn't feel that way, but
just letting you people know, man, keep an eye out on the housing market right now. If you're looking to invest in properties, it's going to take a nice dip. Well, not a nice dip, but it's going to take a dip.
Where the fuck did this come from? Where the fuck did this come
from? The market.
Nah, but I was going to say that, like,
business, Joel.
Like, I take that, but to, like, the extreme. It wasn't really until, like, Joel really was my friend, right? But, like, I took it to the extreme where, like, I was doing that for, like, friends. Like, I would just pay, like, for everything. Like, I was just... But then, obviously, you know, Joel's been...
When your homies are your girl.
And I'm not trying to say, like, oh, like, I didn't want to do it. But, like, that's just who I was. It was just, like, if I asked someone to go out, like, I'm not expecting them to pay for their own shit. You know? But then, you know, as I got older, it was just like, well, if they do have the money and stuff like that, I guess I'll let them pay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if my... buddies are just like, dude, I'm really broke right now. I can't, you know, I'll tell them like, dude, I got you, bro. Don't worry.
Hell yeah.
And like, don't even worry about paying me back. Like, I got you, you got me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
we've surrounded ourselves with people like that, and I like that about us.
Yeah.
It's people who cover each other.
I guess we can, moving from relationships to friendships. You know,
That is a relationship, man. Not everything has to be so intimate, bro.
well, yeah, I guess, but
Or you get into
Well, I mean,
you can get intimate with the homies. I mean,
yeah, bro. Like
2020.
shit.
Eric's the missing link in that situation. He's right there in the middle of homie and homie.
Call it a bromance.
Homie.
Jesus Christ. Nah, but
Yeah. But for sure, dude. Like, speaking of friends over there, man, did you get most of your friends through your job over there? Or were you just linking up with people at like the bars you were going to and stuff? And
I'm trying to think of like all my friends that I have. I think most of them were definitely either through work or like through friends of a friend. So like,
okay.
I did make a couple when I first moved out there. So when I moved out there, I moved to Fort Collins. You know, the plan was to go to CSU, and I moved to like, it was kind of like a dorm apartment kind. Even though I wasn't like enrolled into CSU, I was like in the dorms.
Yeah, in
kind
the
of.
vicinity.
So like, you know, there's CSU parties going on, and so you're going to all those places and you're meeting friends that way. But majority of the friends I have out there have been through work.
Nice. That's fun. Because I know Goose, like, when the epidemic hit over there, or sorry, pandemic,
though.
pandemic, not epidemic. When the pandemic,
When the
hit over there,
appendicitis.
when the appendicitis and the appendectomy happened over there. No, just kidding. When the pandemic happened over there, I knew you were like he was dying for some just face to face conversation with some people.
Well, here's the thing: you got to realize, like, going into the pandemic, I had only seen my parents, and I had only seen my parents ever since I had came in. I had visited actually for my birthday, and that's when, you know, all the shit happened, and like I just completely from November all the way to, I think you didn't come until March, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have in-person contact like with people that I know, that, you know, people that I also have friendships and relationships with. Really, I guess, yeah, my parents visited in right before the new year, right? But it's a little different from, you know, being with your friends and or your siblings, you know. So going into the pandemic was a very how I say this, crazy moment mentally, I guess. And it was kind of at that moment that I realized that it's not that I don't like being alone, more so that I actually enjoy people's company. You know,
you were also coming off of some dark shit that we've already covered, right?
Yeah, dude, like I gotta hand it to you, like that you went through what you went through at that way. I can't imagine, because, you know, I had my dog. I had a roommate when I first moved out there. Like, I mean, I still had like a lot of things going for me as far as like the contacts that I was having, but to be completely alone, going through what you were going through, like,
Mr. Solo Dolo.
yeah, man. I mean, I think you know, you definitely helped a lot. Again, I can't express enough to Joel. You know, every time I get a chance to tell him, I was like, dude, you have no clue like how much like you actually reaching out and actually trying to be more of a friend to me after I moved out, you know, has helped me tremendously. You know,
I can't take a compliment, bro. I really can't. Like, even today, like, I got a compliment and I just didn't know how to take it. I was just like, you know, I'm just doing my job.
Well, me and him are both the same way too. We were actually talking about it the other day. Where it's just like,
yeah.
we when someone tells us like, oh yeah, you're doing really well, blah blah, it's kind of just like, well,
I'm just kind of doing what you
just
told me to
do.
do.
and you know, we were taught that like if you're gonna do something, like do it right.
Yeah.
You know,
Measure 10 times, then cut.
yeah.
And so that's literally like the metaphor my dad always like would do for life, you know? Like, there's 100 ways to skin a cat. I don't know what that one meant, but I know.
I gotta ask him about that one.
Yeah, me too.
I want to see number 72.
Maybe you wanna, maybe you don't. Maybe you'll see what the steaks are made of at that point. I'm kidding.
Oh shit, dude, your dad's steaks are fucking wild, bro.
I'm telling you, bro.
I haven't had them since that day.
Since that fateful night.
Mr. Cordone, I'm coming for them steaks this summer.
You are welcome, dude. And I think I don't want to put you know, any pasta in the kitchen without my mom, but I perhaps there will be that pasta, that number one list, that number one spot pasta will be at my birthday.
Hey man, you're hyping that shit up, and it's gonna be my first time like trying actually having mushrooms with a dish. So, like, I'll do it. I'll do it for you and your mom. You know,
Yes.
like, I'll fucking do it.
So delicious,
Full send.
Mom. I know you
This guy's
don't want to
allergic to
cook.
mushrooms.
Oh, you're allergic to mushrooms?
He
Yeah,
says.
me and mushrooms don't
Don't agree.
we don't agree. We
What
disagree.
kind of mushrooms here? Okay, I'm kidding.
Mushroom intolerant,
I'm lactose non-tolerant. Non-toddler ants.
non-toddler ants.
Non-toddler ants.
That's got to have a backstory to it. But yeah, I can't take a compliment for Christ's sake. What I meant to say was, thank you.
No, but yeah, man. I mean, I guess, like I said in episodes before, like, as someone who's like literally been through shit alone,
Yeah.
it is hard to see the other side of, to see if the other side really is greener. And you know what? We all reach it at some point, I hope. And if you really don't feel like you are getting there, there's ways to get help.
Maybe you're
like-
just colorblind at that point. But maybe you're already on the green side. It's just
Maybe.
got to get those lenses, those expensive ass color
Oof.
lenses. I love watching those videos, dude. Always get me to tear up just a little bit. I just need that. I need that
Serotonin.
that vibe in my life.
That dopamine.
That dopamine.
I said serotonin.
So what's serotonin doing? Who's Sarah Palin? But yeah, bro. For sure. I think we have me and you have a friendship that is hard to compare to. I can say for sure that you're one of my true friends, bro.
Oh yeah.
Ride or dies. Not a lot of people have a lot of ride or dies. Not a lot of people have Aggies in their life.
You my lady.
You heard it here first, folks.
Lynn's about to beat my ass, bro.
Lynn has already admitted to just having a straight custody battle between me and you two in terms of time. Like, I was hanging up the phone today, and she's like, "I'm not hanging up the phone if you're going to Eric's." I was like, "Then I'll hang up," and she's like, "Do that, and I'm gonna be upset." And I was like,
No.
"No,
Ama. No me quiere dejar en paz.
oh God,
I'm-
that I'm actually cutting out, Eric."
it's a joke. It's a joke.
No, I
It's
know.
a joke. It's a joke. Lynn, you know I'm joking, right? Dude, I'm honestly scared that someday she's just gonna fucking just
Murder you,
murder
with that
me in
belt
my
on there.
sleep. To be honest,
She's gonna do you like Hitman does people, just put you in a trash can somewhere.
dude.
I'm gonna come home and it's gonna be just Lynn chilling here like, hello, hands crossed in a spinning chair.
I thought you were going home.
Package taken care of.
I thought so too.
Yeah. Damn.
Well. So, where do we go from here, boys? We've talked about a lot in relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a part. I don't know how comfortable you are, sharing this, but kind of like what you've done in your career too, because I mean, you have a long history there. I wouldn't say get into it, but someone who's been in law enforcement in recent years, what is that? How do I say this? How is it mentally for you in times like these that we're in today?
Mental. How's it mentally? In what way? Like mentally taxing.
Yeah, like
What
Dude,
challenges are you
yeah.
finding right now in comparison to before?
yeah, the way that you approached your job before, or the way that people talk to you and stuff like that. Like,
Well, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, I grew up around people that weren't fond of the police. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was used to that. So even, I worked at a department where the community was really pro-police. And honestly, even to this day, despite everything that's going on, that community is still, for the most part, pro-police. That was like the most pro-police community, like, area I was really a part of, just because, growing up in Chicago, growing up out here, like, the friends that I had weren't pro
Right.
police. So like even before all this happened, like just the way I had carried myself, it was never like I'm a cop or this and that. Like I never, I was never like that, because I had that notion of like, well, I know people don't like cops. So like even after all this stuff that had happened, I mean, it was just kind of more of the same of like, oh well, now it's just everyone knows that nobody likes cops. Not like that wasn't a secret to me kind of thing.
Right.
It does. It is weird, like being associated just like with that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because like obviously there's just so much more to the whole like not liking cops thing because of everything else that's going on, and you know, being a minority, like it's just I guess it's weird being dragged in with that, but like I know a lot of, you know, officers that are out there that are minorities that, you know, are just kind of like whatever about it. They're like just living their lives, doing what they're doing. They know that they're doing right, and that's like in the end, that's all you could really do. It's like I understand that all this stuff is going on, and I don't like agree with it as far as like obviously there's bad cops out there, but as long as I know that what I'm doing is right and I'm adhering to the rules and to the laws, then that's all I could really do.
What do you tell someone who tells you, oh, but your part, like one bad apple, you know, ruins the batch or something like that, you know?
That's with everything, dude. There's bad apples in everything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like, dude, you know how many bad apples in my field that I grew up around? You know that, like,
Yeah.
how many crappy police officers I dealt with, like, with our parents, with everything my parents went through, and all that. Not just that, but like me personally, like the crappy officers I dealt with. It's just kind of knowing yourself and knowing what you're dealing with. Like you could easily say that about anything, any field that you go into. Like bad apples, like yeah, like I've worked in all sorts of places. Like I've met crappy firefighters, crappy doctors, crappy bank tellers, crappy, you know, cellular device sellers. Fuck you, Sprint.
Honestly, fuck Sprint.
Yeah,
Dude, it's more like a jog at this point.
all right, we're
not getting sponsored by Sprint, dude.
All right,
I'd rather get sponsored by
full
Walk.
send. Fuck Sprint.
You better delete this episode if Sprint sponsors you guys.
Nah, fuck that, dude.
But
This
yeah,
will be the one that gets them on the map. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, like yeah, like I get it, and here's the thing is like I'm not necessarily defending those bad apples or anything, and I'm not necessarily like trying to convince anyone that hates the police not to hate the police. Like obviously if you have a reason to hate us then hate them, you know, it's you have your reasons and I'm not going to change your mind otherwise. You're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to feel the way that you feel. You obviously feel that way for some reason. I feel the way that I do for mine. I went through my stuff. Like yeah, I could have easily been like fuck the cops, but I wanted to change the narrative. You know, I'm like, you know what, like I want to go that route. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that officer that I hated. I'm going to be something better. I'm going to be.
And I think
Not
that's what it is. It's got to be changed from individual people that happen to make it a collective. You know, like if each person were to change the way that they, you know, approach a situation. I understand that policing is a dangerous job. You don't know who you're encountering when you're pulling somebody over, you know, like a speeding ticket could be related to like some fucking crazy shit that just happened down the block that had a shotgun involved or something. You don't know that. So you're walking in with this mentality of, you know, you're approaching a situation that is an unknown and there are unknown unknowns in that situation. And you just have to be ready for everything. You know who you are, and you are unfortunately could be a target of violence in whatever situation, whether it'll be calm or not. And I think that's it's convenient for a lot of people to ignore that, you know? But it's also convenient for a lot of people to use it as an excuse. And it's a very sticky situation in terms of like that, you know, the whole force really, you know, you can't be Back to Blue because Back to Blue makes excuses, and you can't be a cop because they want to defund the police and just run an anarchist state, you know, and that's like the extreme side, where just the side that, you know, has witnessed a police shooting of a loved one or something like that.
That's the thing that like we've talked about in our episodes before. Is like there's no middle ground anymore. It's not even that a middle ground is just like a understanding is just like that the world is a fucked up place, you know. And when you focus, like when right now we're at a point where the really fucked up stuff is the stuff that is being shown right in front of your face. It's not hidden. I wouldn't say that it's not hidden, but more so it's just like that's all you're seeing now. you're not seeing the good stories. You know, the stories where it's just like, okay, well, yeah, we'll look at it this way. You're seeing it from one extreme side to the other extreme side. So, and those people are obviously always going to clash. And where does that leave the middle people? Either they force those middle people to pick a side basically,
or they get canceled.
And you know, like some of the shit that, you know, you guys have said right now, I know for a fact that there are people out there that would start just fucking yelling at you guys, like, you guys are wrong, you, like, you know, that's not right, you know, we should, you know, be doing all this stuff with cops and stuff like that. But, like, you know, as someone who was, you know, part of it, and, you know, the people that say, you know, these bad apples and stuff like that, how do you, you know, I know you kind of mentioned, you know, the, like, oh, it's a collective thing, right?
Yeah. Well,
But,
it
like,
starts with an individual and turns into a collective thing, but you can't make excuses and you can't blame everybody at the same time. So both sides are wrong. If they would just meet at the middle, there would be no reason to, you know, have these extremes if they had a compromise, but nobody wants to compromise anymore.
Well, see, and here's the thing, like, kind of just speaking to what you're speaking of, like, you're like, that middle, the middle is the majority. It is, believe it or not, the middle is the majority. A lot of people are in the middle. Here's the thing is, like, the people on the extreme side of, like, blue lines matter aren't even cops. They're just really conservative Republican people. And then the people that are, you know, like ACAB or whatever the hell that acronym is, and all this and that, are the really extreme of the other side. And then in the middle, you have actual cops that are, like, just trying to do their jobs. You have people that obviously know that there's an issue and that are, you know, bringing it up appropriately and doing what they're supposed to do and addressing the issues. And then those people in the middle, I promise you, like, just from my experiences and just kind of from what I've seen, like, they're all trying to collaborate and we're trying to find solutions. But the media is, you know, I mean, I'm not going to start going into all that, but, like, you're obviously not going to hear about that. You're not going to hear about the kumbaya sessions that are happening. You're not going to hear about the stuff that's working out. Yeah. You're only going to hear about both extremes.
Good cop stories are far and few between, man. And
so
it's really not the truth. Like, a lot of neighborhood cops are really close with their community, whether it's a pro community or not. You know, there's, like, that the example of, like, a hood cop, right? Hood cop has respect because they're not going to book you for some stupid shit that they know most likely will land you in life, right? They're going to be like, man, straighten up, because, you know, this is where your life is going to lead you. And they give you a life lesson in that moment. And I've seen those moments happen too. And, you know, you can't just take one instance or multiple instances that are around the United States in areas that are, you know, either really good or really bad or stuff like that. You can't just take those instances and throw it in the face of every single police officer, you know.
And that's the same thing with cops. Like, you can't throw it in the face of your citizens just because,
exactly,
you know,
because you're like, you guys don't make my job easy.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what happens.
Your job
is,
isn't
like, you
easy.
know, and that's the thing is, like, obviously there's plenty of, like, people in the field that take things, like, super personal, and it's like that. You're not in the place to take things personally, dude.
You're interpreting the law and how it's being broken right now. That's about it. That's how you proceed is how you're trained. You know, I don't think anybody trains you to, you know, pick and choose who your target is for the day. You know, and they don't train you to be, you know, culturally insensitive, or they don't train you to have favoritism between people. And that's something that, you know, that's crazy to me, because a lot of people will be like, I forget when, but apparently Trump said, you know, oh, I don't believe in these, we need to get rid of these sensitivity trainings because it's painting America in a bad light or something like that. I'm like, okay.
No, and I'll say this as someone who went through the academy and everything before, like, you know, all this big stuff started happening. And I mean, I can only speak for, you know, my area, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are going this way. Like, they are going through a lot of sensitivity training. They are going through a lot of they are dealing a lot more with, like, the psychological factors and a lot of, like, how do we de-escalation, like, alternate ways to de-escalate situations besides force. It's happening. It's been happening. But the thing, just like in everything else, nothing changes overnight.
Yeah.
And, like, and obviously, like, now they're trying to move things a lot faster now, just because everything that's going on. But, like, like I said, the middle, like they're trying to fix it. Like
Mhm.
it's not so much of like the acknowledge of like just trying to ignore the fact that there's a problem. Like no, obviously there's a problem and they're trying to get it
Implemented.
Right.
implemented.
and
So
fixed.
you're, basically what you're saying is you're not saying that like, oh, there isn't a problem. You're saying that there is a problem and they are trying to fix it, but it's something that's taking a long time. It's like we are moving in a better direction, or maybe we're not, but we're trying to go somewhere. But people right now are just so impatient and want to see a change like that it creates the reactions that we've been seeing.
Right. And you know what? And I'm not trying to say that that's unreasonable either to expect to want that like change right away. Like, dude,
Mhm.
a lot of people are really hurt by a lot of things that have happened. I can't sit here and blame them and like tell them, dude, like just stop, be patient. Like, just like, no, like I
Right.
get why you're frustrated. I get why I don't get, but I see why they're frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you hear these stories, you see what's happening, and like, yeah, you know why they want, like, obviously, like, it'd be nice in a perfect world for change to just happen overnight, but unfortunately, like, and I'm not sitting here saying, like, dude, just fucking deal with it, go with the, roll with the punches, and we'll
Right.
get there. Like, yeah, no, it sucks, but I promise you, like, they're trying to work on it. Like,
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
not like the situation is.
they're not trying to ignore it. Yeah, it's not being pushed under the rug. It's not being ignored or anything like that. And that's the thing is like that's what it's kind of conveyed because you're looking at the completely other side of like they're like there's no problem like yeah support
Yeah,
all this and
because
that, and
it's not like cops don't know about like the statistics, right? Like they know that, obviously a black person will be more afraid of getting pulled over than a white person will be, right? They'll act nervous, right? And so that's not an unexpected thing, right? Obviously the officer's going to be a little more cautious because they don't know why they're nervous, but once they find out, they should, be cool. Like, this is my first time ever getting pulled over, officer, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's like, all right, well, relax, and then those kinds of trainings are happening is what you're telling me. You've gone through the academy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for people to sort of like throw this notion at a police officer as if they've never heard of it before. Like, do you know how many people are incarcerated? I'm like, yes, we know how many people are incarcerated, right?
Right.
Like, it's not like we don't know that these issues exist. They're issues for a reason. It's crazy. They're out in the field doing all this work that people are studying and stuff, and they're acting like they have no idea what they're talking about. And it's not like they want to well, I can't speak for everybody, but it's not like a majority of police officers want to incarcerate people on the daily.
No, and I'll tell you this just at least, and I can only speak from my personal experience and what I was surrounded by, which again is it's a very small speck in a very large ocean. But yeah, I know that they're not about that. They're not about being unfair. They're not.
Yeah.
Like, which is wild, just because seeing the experiences that I went through working in it compared to the experiences growing up, like it's
very different.
very different. Yeah, I mean, you've heard some of my stories where it's like where were these kind of like cops like when my parents were getting pulled over and like when we were dealing with our stuff like, and I don't know if it's necessarily a regional thing or if it's a times thing because again we're looking at things that happened decades between each other, so that might be part of like what we're talking about. Like, hey, things are changing. People in the field are getting more sensitive. Like they are being more open to like the culture. And that's the really big thing that's going on right now. Going through classes myself right now, even through like school, that's something that they're trying to push as far as like the officers and getting involved with that, with the culture and all that.
Officers in the field are even more diversified as well. There's like more female officers, more, races in terms of diversity and officers. I don't know the exact numbers, but I've seen it,
Yeah.
And so,
and obviously the numbers, and that's the thing is I don't know if they'll ever be at where people want to see them, but it's again, it's one of the things you're not going to hear about it, but it is something that's being addressed. It is something that, departments are going out of their way to try to fix. Like, yeah, they want to diversify, there's actions in place. Like they're trying to make it happen.
Right. Yeah. I like I said, like it's easy to look into this conversation, right? From whether you're from the extremists on the right side of it or on the left side of it, right? And then just us get like ripped, right? But you feel like this is more of like what the generalization of people think.
What do you mean?
Like you like all I see on social media and all that stuff and news and stuff like that, it's like you said, it's only the right side or the left side of things. It's never like we said, the middle of it. But what you're saying is just like, don't pay attention to that, because in reality, the reality of our world is the majority of us are in the middle of it, and we are looking for a solution, but we're not doing these extreme things of, saying all cops are bastards and, blue lives matter and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like I said, there's that big middle thing, and like I think that those people, both sides of that middle, kind of know that the other side exists. Like the officers know that there are people that are really passionate about this cause, and they respect them for it. And again, they're trying to make them feel as comfortable as possible, letting them, like you're saying, when you get into those situations where you're pulling someone like that over that's in fear for their lives, like trying to make them feel as comfortable as possible. And then the other that other side as well also knows, like, I know that every cop that I come by isn't going to try to kill me, isn't going to try to shoot me. So,
right.
But like Eric was saying, like everything's so magnified that those situations where a cop will just walk up to the window with the gun drawn is such a scary instance that's ingrained more into your mind than all the reasonable police officers.
Right.
I remember I took a sketchy left turn, man, and I'm gonna confess right now. Sorry, Mom. I got pulled over. All right, and he let me off with a warning. He's like, "Man, I didn't want to kill a kid today, so you better be careful, dude. I ever catch you doing something stupid like that again." I was following my my maps, and I was about to miss this turn, and I saw like,
you were coming over here, right?
I don't remember, to be honest, but I took a sketch left turn, and they were like, hey, just be careful, don't do it again, I just looked you up right now, you're clean, so stay that way. And I'm like, all right, officer, thank you so much, man.
So how about this? How about, in your opinion, how do you try and weed out those bad apples? Like, how do you stop that from? How can you prevent it? Obviously, you can't
bad
stop
apples
it.
on what side? Like, what do you mean prevent?
So, in your experiences, is the way every department handles like a bad cop situation, like this officer was way out of line, right, and did something freaking crazy, and
well, as far as like, I'll speak to that real quick. Like I said, even before all this happened, dude, like we were all, even before all this happened, we were so scared to do, like, that's why I don't understand how, like, and you get it, because there, again, people crazy people get into all sorts of fields. But we went through the academy, and there wasn't a single day that we like put our stuff on and go out to the street that we weren't in fear of like losing our jobs. Not because we were doing stupid stuff, but because like they emphasized, if you fuck up, you will lose your job. There is no more of that brotherly blue line, like I forgot what it's called, though. The whole like the blue line secrecy. There's an actual term for it. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they were like, they made a point of it, like, hey, this doesn't exist anymore. There isn't this blue side, this brotherly silence thing. It might still be, again, it's not where you were, not the area that I'm from. I can't, like I said, I can only speak for like where I'm coming from. But, and again, I came from like a metropolitan area, so it is a bigger department. So I think I can only imagine that bigger ones are still kind of like that, are trying to push those agendas to get away from it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like,
yeah, and especially with everything that's going on now, I'm only sure that it's getting even more into that. And that's the thing is, like, the example that we would give are like, okay, what's going to happen? Like, if you put your ass on the line for this person, are they going to pay your mortgage? Are they going to buy your groceries when you lose your job? Are they going to do like, no? Like, you have to. And
it's crazy because they make it on the news seem like it's the entire department that's hiding like a secret, when it's 3 officers or something at most. And
like I said, if you talk to any of like the ones that I know, they'll speak to like the exact opposite. They're like, dude, everyone's just throwing each other under the bus. Like, that's just like, it's like fuck this whole like.
Jose was cleaning his butthole in his patrol car.
No, but like, no, like, yeah, like I said, even before all this happened, like I remember that was like a big thing of like everyone, and that's a good thing. I mean, It sucked definitely kind of like having that fear, but that's kind of what you sign up for, you know. It's like there's a lot of liability in that job. I think if you're, you know, to an extent you should be scared
if
to
I
lose your
mean,
job. You should be careful with what you're doing and how you're doing that job given all that liability.
Yeah, I mean, if a doctor's over here like fucking around with people's organs and shit,
Right. If
like,
a doctor wasn't scared
that malpractice
at some extent,
that malpractice would just go without any sort of consequence, right?
Right.
But now they have their know licenses revoked, or if you're a crooked attorney, then you get the bar taken away, and all that stuff, right?
And that exists with cops too. And I'm telling you guys, and now it's gotten even worse because now. Which again isn't the worst thing to an extent. Depends on who you ask and depends on like what the extremes are. But like, yeah, the smallest slip up right now, they take away your post, which is like your certification, and you can never ever be a cop again.
And I think that's the myth. That's the myth that that
doesn't exist. That
doesn't exist, and we need to implement it right now.
Like, bro, it's been implemented. Yeah, it's out there. Like. Again, I can't speak for every
police
police
station.
department or what's going on, but like it's out there, it's happening. Like they're pushing for that. So
and in the cities too. So
in the bigger cities, like definitely.
So that's kind of an important that's good. That's good to see, and this is exactly why we like guests, because we want to see these insider views and stuff.
But do you feel like there's a chance that all of that change in culture that is happening can end up being all for nothing?
In what sense?
In the sense of like there's this big movement, like how do I say this? Because obviously, none of us are, I guess you could say, necessarily been affected in the way that maybe certain communities have been, right, by the police force, right? And as much as you say is like there's majority of the middle that is seeing both sides and that is trying to make things better, don't you think it definitely is possible for, let's say, the side that says we should abolish the police ends up, I wouldn't necessarily say winning, but more so, I guess you could say getting the edge on it in terms of like tearing all the stuff that you guys are working towards just down, like basically putting in a line is just like, oh, it doesn't matter because you guys are still assholes. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So you're saying like, is all this change going to be for nothing because they're going to get rid of the police anyways, kind of thing, completely?
I wouldn't say get rid of the police, but more so just like we're at the point where it doesn't matter how much you try to change, people are just going to hate you forever now.
Dude, well, that's the thing. It's always been like that. Like I was saying before, is like even before all this happened, I came from a community that hated the cops. I was part of that. I wasn't personally part of the community, but I was surrounded by it. I've been living around, being from Chicago. Like, I mean, I guess maybe you didn't spend as much time down there, but that's always been a thing. And that's always going to be a thing, unfortunately. I don't think it's, and in the end, I mean, personally, you look at it compared to the way that other countries are with their military and their police, and it could be so much worse as far as like
totalitarianism and all that stuff.
And it's like,
not to say that, not to give an excuse, obviously, but
and again, it is like a minority of people that feel that way, and they feel that way because they came from that. They came from that oppression. They came from that, of how it was before the way that they're going towards. They were around like all that negativity, like the harsh, the way that they harshly did things back in the day, and they were around all that. So it's kind of hard to get away from that. Just like when you deal with, I know me personally, when you deal with different cultures that again come from those other countries and other places where like cops were, not only did people think they were bad, like they were actually bad. They were corrupt. There was a lot of bad things going on, and they're scared of you. Like you have to learn to like okay, like
gain their trust.
Yeah, you have to gain that trust, and that's something that I think that's something that the police force is going to be doing for forever, for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
It just sucks right now because it's on a national spotlight, basically.
Yeah, and I know a lot of like people talk to it like it is a pendulum. It's always a pendulum, and honestly, we were, at least our community was coming from the other end where like we had a lot of police support because we had a lot of officers die on the line of duty, and like a lot of them. Like I remember like when I got in, there were about 4 like in a week.
Oh,
like
jeez.
and not just like around the nation. It was like around, like in a county, like in a little like metropolitan area that had been killed. So like we had a lot of like people that were like, yeah, like pro police, and it was great. And then, you know, it swings to the other side, like where we are now, and I'm sure eventually swing the other way. And it's just, and that's what I hear from people that have been doing it for years. It just goes back and forth.
Kind of like
I mean, obviously you'd want it in the pro police, and not just because like for us, but obviously we would want the community to want to trust us as well. But I mean, I guess only time will tell.
Right. Yeah.
Only time will tell, man.
I guess I posed this question to Joel in one of our other episodes is, do you feel like we are in a not a euphoria,
Dystopia or a utopia?
Yeah. Do you feel like we're leaning more towards one or the other?
Well, what's your definition of a dystopia?
I don't know. I guess just what's your definition? I feel like Joel can define it a little better.
Well, a dystopia is what I'm about to look up right now. If we're gonna get the actual,
Hey Jamie, pull it up.
Jamie,
Joel.
pull it up real quick. Okay, so it's let's see. Okay, and as an adjective, it's relating or denoting to an imagined state or society where there is great suffering or great injustice. So, think of a regime, pretty much like Superman, and everybody on the Justice League is awful, and they are the reigning government above, and nothing can be done to stop them. Dystopia. And then utopia would be the exact opposite of
Right.
that.
And your question is if you think we're leaning towards one or the other?
Well, my question is where do you think we are now, and where are we heading?
Mind you, they're both imagined states, so never been achieved ever in any place ever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an analogy, but like, you know,
Yeah.
are we in a bad place right now, or are we in a good place? Are we heading into a better place, or are we heading into a worse place?
I'd say it's imaginary as far as here in the States. I think there's definitely this quote-unquote dystopias out in other third world countries and other places. Utopias, we're never going to find a utopia. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
As far as like where we're at right now, I mean, I definitely don't think we're in. I think we're in the middle, dude. I mean, and here's the thing: is it's one person's. It's a perspective. You know, you can only say as much as from where you can see from. I can't see from a lot of other people's like point of views. I can't speak for everyone in this world. I mean, if I'm gonna generalize, just kind of like from what I know, definitely in the middle as far as like where we're heading towards. I'm gonna be honest. I think we're just gonna be staying in the middle, and it's always gonna be kind of like that slight one way or the other. I don't think we're gonna get far. At least here in the States for the time being, I don't think we're gonna be like. The way I look at it is if like we're in a bar from like 0 to 100, 0 being the dystopia, 100 being the utopia, and let's say we're at that 50 right now. I think we're gonna be we'd linger between that like 40 and 60. You know what I mean? I don't think we're ever gonna get close. At least not. I mean, if you just look at our history, you know what I mean? Like like what we made it out here, we colonized, did our thing, and then even then from a perspective, it's like that's from us as Americans, but like for the Native Americans, it went from like being a utopia to like
dystopia real
quick. So
real quick.
I mean,
That's terrible. I mean,
but that's
dark
what
humor, but yeah,
no, just realism and
again, it's all about perspective. So like here, I mean, who knows? Like, yeah, right now we're at the 50-50 for like in general, but maybe tomorrow they decide that everyone that's left-handed is going to go to a concentration camp and it just turned into dystopia for them real quick too. Like,
yeah, it's just deciding really whether it's just one decision that can, wherever you're placed, your reality can be that. That's why we had that quote. I forget by who again. God damn it. But it's a touch and go race between it all, like between utopia and dystopia. It can literally be anything.
An example right now might be the whole like COVID thing, like people that want to get the vaccine and don't get the vaccine.
Yeah.
People that don't get the vaccine, they're like, well, you can't travel anymore. You can't do stuff.
Oof.
You can't do anything. You can't leave your house. It's like, well, there goes my utopia.
Yeah, there goes my freedom.
Do you see there being another world war?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. At some point,
Why not?
At some point, somebody's gonna disagree real hard with whoever's on any side of the pond.
like, yeah, we hate each other. Like,
We'll find an excuse for war.
What about a civil war?
A civil war? No, I don't think we're gonna reach that point anytime soon. As much as we hate each other, and as much as we were polarized during
I think
2016 all the way to now.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think it's really. I would want to be really quick to be like, I guess, considering like what we're going towards, but like when you think about it, like, yeah, like I don't really see it happening.
Yeah, and plus with in terms of world war, with mutually assured destruction, which is what the United States and Russia are really in, as the big main ones, they're mutually assured in terms of if you launch a nuke, I'll launch a nuke, and we'll all be dead.
I think everyone kind of understands that. They're like,
everyone but Greenland probably will be good.
So you don't think we'll ever launch nukes on each other?
I don't think so. No.
Do you think we had a chance and now it's gone?
To what?
You sound like you're really looking.
You sound
forward
really
to these
disappointed.
nukes.
Hey man, Fallout 4 was a fun. I'm just kidding. I'm
No,
kidding.
no.
I'm kidding.
That's terrible. I would not want to live in a Fallout universe.
I'm
Freaking
joking,
death
obviously,
claws, man.
But I mean, so would you? I guess someone who is like, very nervous and very afraid that something like that might happen, realistically, because you two are very realistic people, right? Would you tell them just like it's never going to happen in your lifetime?
Dude, listen, if there's one thing I've learned, it's to never say never. So, I mean,
Right, yeah.
I'm not going to go, I'm not as confident. And maybe that's like a shitty thing. Like, oh, you're not confident enough to say that, like, that we won't live in a, like, Fallout, like, Las Vegas thing. Like, dude, I don't know. Like,
Junior.
Like, what happened to the dinosaurs? Like,
Junior, if 10 years ago today I told you we were going to be wearing masks in public in fear of death, would you have believed me?
I'm pretty sure we were doing the same thing last time with I had the swine flu 10 years ago.
No, H1N1 was all about washing your hands and stuff, right? But
This is.
but
like
now it's
No, yeah, I
like
get-
imagine a world where
Right.
it's almost seemingly like the air is toxic to us, right?
It was funny because, like, Maria asked me earlier, she's like, hey, when's the new season of Black Mirror coming out? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're in the new season of Black Mirror.
Being filmed live.
like they went from like the TV show, then they went to like the pick your adventure thing, and then they're
Right.
just like, you're in the adventure thing.
This is all caused by the 5G, man.
hilarious.
Netflix is under everything. Like,
Netflix is actually Disney. No, I'm kidding.
like you're not wrong. Like but that that's just another thing that reflecting upon is like you never know what's gonna happen. Like fuck, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, like you
Yeah.
told me like not even like this whole big thing, but just like little things that have happened.
Man,
I'd be like, that's wild.
whole last year ago, I didn't even think that I'd be back home.
That's
Yeah.
true. You thought you were going to be in Michigan for a while.
Yeah. But, as I learned, shit changes whether you want it to or not. Sometimes, again, it's you can only control so much. And sometimes you either roll with it and move on because life will do that, or stay stuck in one place and...
Well, that's the thing is like if you're scared to die, are you really living? I mean,
Damn. That's a good one because, I was mentioning I was watching The Walking Dead, right? And so there's a point where, spoilers for season 2 of The Walking Dead, I guess. But,
wait, what year is this?
so Carl, who is the main character's son, he gets shot in an accident, right? And so the mom is really losing hope, Lori, who I hate. So she's really losing hope, and she's like, do we really want him to live in a world like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a world where, everything is shit and terrible and, he's probably going to die at a young age or anything. I'm like, dude, do you
Spoiler
forget?
alert, he does.
Spoiler alert for season 9. Skip 7
Junior
seasons.
just straight up just dropped we're talking about dropping a nuke on the U.S. You're talking about dropping a nuke on these
I just
fans.
saved y'all a lot of time.
Yeah, you really did.
That's wild.
There's a lot of character development with him that you'll probably like along the way, but rip. But either way, like, do you forget where we came from? We came from an age where mammals were just becoming like the predominant species, and here come these cavemen trying to survive these mammoths and shit like that. Just because the world devolved around us doesn't mean that we give up hope. We work back to it, And so like this idea of just like leaving, like just being
saying,
like it's not worth it anymore,
Are you saying mammoths are gonna make a comeback?
Mammoths are on top right now, bro. What are you talking about? Mammoths? No, wait. Oh, and I thought you said mammals. No, yeah.
No, I said mammoths.
Mammoths? Didn't they find one in Antarctica like a couple of years ago? And they're like thinking about recreating his DNA.
Was like whole preserved.
Yeah,
whole preserved and stuff.
It was like fully preserved in ice.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
dude, that's crazy.
Manny
the mammoth. How
Manny
original.
the mammoth. As soon as air touches that corpse, I think it's just gonna like disintegrate. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. All the bacteria in the air would just like destroy that thing.
All the DNA just gone.
Poor Manny. But yeah, I think they were talking about like No, I don't think they did. I don't think they did clone it. But
I mean, we would know by now. I think. I hope.
I'm pretty sure it was a thing. I don't know. We'd have to look into that after the podcast.
All right. So how do you feel being back in Chicago, man?
I mean,
obviously in the middle of a pandemic, but
right. Well, it's not so much. I mean, for me, it's not so much being back in Chicago. It's just being back with family.
With the fam.
Yeah.
This is the first time that the family's all been together since 2018.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's been a fat minute.
That's good, man. That's healthy. That's good. I can't like actually, considering how much I am with my aunts and uncles and my cousins and stuff, it does feel like the family's been apart for a while, because they used to just come over for coffee at like random hours of the night after people were done with work and stuff, and my cousins would come visit and all that stuff. They do but it's a lot
fuck a school night,
farther between. Honestly, dude, just like
we never heard that in our fucking household. It was never like,
what?
It's a school night, go to sleep.
Oh, I definitely did, but like only in regards to like playing video games or watching TV or something, right?
We were just told just like vas a ver cuando estás en clase y no puedes andar despierto.
Well, maybe you, dude. When me and Myra were young, we used to get it all the time. We got our bedtime, and then it just kind of went away.
Yeah,
at 9 o'clock.
Runaway train, never coming back.
He attributes a lot of his love for music to you, and
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sorry. Terrible taste in music.
You do not.
Hey, man.
Well, I mean,
random.
now maybe.
What the
I'm kidding. I was actually thinking about it. It's just like, it's crazy how we both kind of went on this journey. Like, at least this is the way that I see it. Maybe you see it differently. But we kind of went through a similar journey through music, right? And we kind of liked a lot of the similar things for a while. And then all of a sudden, like, I definitely do feel like now, like, we do like same type of music here and there, but like you have definitely delved more into one way of music than I have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. I just think that's crazy. I just want to point that out. Yeah.
All right, man. If I'm going to be 100% honest, I don't want to lose this episode.
Right.
So I think this is a good time to just, cut it off right now, man.
You cutting me off, bro?
I'm cutting you off. I'm chopping it off, brother.
Oh, man. But, yeah, I mean, thank you for coming, man. Thank you for being on this podcast and speaking, not only, I mean, your experiences, but, your knowledge, because it is knowledge,
It's opinions. I'm not very knowledgeable. I just
well,
have
it's
some
opinions
opinions that I
mixed
share
with a little
sometimes.
bit of experience, and experience in its own way is knowledge, brother. So
Thank you.
You're more knowledgeable than you give yourself.
We can
credit
literally
for.
sit here for 2-3 hours talking about what is knowledge. So
But,
don't get me started with that shit.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, yeah, man. But thank you, and for those of you who are listening, like and subscribe.
For sure, man. You can find us on Spotify and Podbean, the Turtle Hour Podcast. We're on Instagram and Facebook. I'm really trying Apple Podcasts, Lynn, okay? Stop. Stop badgering me. You're the only one in my Snapchat that's doing that to me. But, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been the Turtle Hour Podcast. Signing off.
Peace.